41 white men and 1 white woman. Love that. Hey squad, it's Felicity. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be tier ranking every philosopher that I read in college for my undergraduate degree. We have a lot of old white men to talk about, so let's get into it. So I got the idea for this video from my dear friend and former college roommate. She saw that I was going through all the books that I had at my new apartment, and she was like, you should rank them or like do a bracket with them for your YouTube channel. And I was like, that is hilarious. I love that. So I think that I'm gonna share my thoughts with you guys and do like a little tier ranking system. So what are my qualifications for ranking these philosophers? So I graduated from Villanova University in 2020 with a double major in humanities and psychology, and I minored in classical studies. And if you're wondering, like, what is humanities? Don't feel bad, because the Villanova Department of Humanities also had no idea what that word meant, but that's okay, we pushed through. I'll throw up a definition of what humanities actually means, like right here. Basically, the way that Villanova interpreted that, Villanova is a Catholic university, and they were like, yeah, so we're gonna take that humanities and have it mean like Catholic studies, basically. So in my humanities classes, I read a lot of philosophy and theology. That's pretty much it. And then because I was a liberal arts major at Villanova, I also had to just take like core philosophy, theology, ethics, all that stuff. So we have a lot of material that we're working with. There are 42 philosophers that I came up with that I read. I tried to like count everyone. I tried to find every like old syllabus that I could that was still on my laptop and go through and make the list. So now let me tell you a little bit about how we're gonna be ranking them. So I'll throw like a picture up of the tier list that I'm using like right on the screen so you can see it. But basically, I just went on TierMaker. I'll have a link to this down below if you want to fill it out yourself if you don't agree with what I have to say with my tiers. But basically, we have 5 categories. So the first one, the best category, is deserves rights. This means that this philosopher deserves rights. It means that I really liked what they had to say, that they made some good points. It probably means that I did the readings for their work, which is pretty rare for me. Sorry, do as I say, not as I do, I don't know. So deserves rights is the best you can get. Coming in next is I get it, I respect it.
I get it, like I respect it.
So this means that, you know, I understand why we were taught this philosopher, I get why we learned it, I get why we read it. Maybe I agree, maybe I don't, but I understand that it was of some value for my education. The third category is who. And basically what this means is that I probably either like A, didn't do the reading for this philosopher, or B, the discussion just wasn't memorable, so I have no idea like who this was, what they had to say, and how I felt about it. The fourth category is on thin ice. So this means that this philosopher they're on thin ice. Like, I'm not really a fan of theirs. I probably don't really like what they have to say, but I don't like hate them, just kind of like, ugh, like whatever, we read it, okay, fine. And the final category is doesn't deserve rights. So these philosophers, they can burn in hell. I hate them. I hate what they had to say. I probably hate what my professors had to say about them. And, you know, like electric chair for these guys. So that's the worst category. I'm gonna try to do like a screen recording. We will see how this goes. And these are like pretty much in alphabetical order, I think, is kind of just how they're organized. So first up, we have Alexis de Tocqueville. My pronunciations are usually okay, but this one, I don't know. We'll see. Bear with me. Like, you don't need to tell me in the comments that I said it wrong. Like, I know. But all right. So Alexis de Tocqueville. So I read his work for my society class that I took, and he wrote like he was a French guy that came to America and wrote about what he saw there. So I think that's pretty cool. So we're gonna put him in. I get it. I respect it. I think that his work was pretty interesting. Did I do the readings? No. Next up, we have who is this? Yeah, sorry, my laptop's like down below, so it's gonna be me like looking up and down, whatever. Next up we have Anselm of Canterbury. I read his work for my God class, and like I remember it, and I remember that I wrote a paper about it, but it was not memorable at all. I feel like my boyfriend had to help me, so we're gonna put him in who? Yeah, we'll do that. Next up we have Aristotle. Aristotle does not deserve rights because he thought that certain people were born not deserving rights. He thought that some people were just like meant to be slaves, and so for that he doesn't deserve rights. And also, like, side note, somebody needs to tell the professors of Villanova that he was not a Catholic. Like, Catholicism didn't exist yet, and just because Thomas Aquinas had shit to say about that, like, he was Greek. Like, Aristotle was not worshiping Jesus. Like, he didn't know who that was. So, yeah, he's not a Christian theologist, and don't teach him that way either. Okay, cool. Next, we have Augustine of Hippo. So St. Augustine. Villanova is an Augustinian university, so they like are obsessed with this guy. And you know what? Like, I get it, I respect it. Some of his stuff was actually kind of interesting. Next up, we have Pope Benedict XVI, former Pope. I don't know, do you still call him the Pope as like a president? I don't know. Pope Benedict XVI, he's on thin ice. We'll leave it at that. So next we have my guy, Boethius, like, check 100 for obscure philosophers here. Boethius, I read his work for a Dante and theology class that I took, which was actually amazing. Like, that class was great. Worth the major for that one. Boethius, I don't know, I feel like he was probably, like, martyred or something. Yeah, he's got to go with who, because I really don't remember anything that he had to say. Next, we have C.S. Lewis, also known as the author of the Chronicles of Narnia, which, like, it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize were, like, Catholic Christian propaganda. Like, come on, the lion gets killed and then comes back to life. Like, Jesus's persona, I've heard him called online. But yeah, so for C.S. Lewis, we read The Great Divorce, also in my Dante and theology class. And, like, that shit slapped. It was really, really interesting. So, C.S. Lewis, I guess you deserve rights. Next up, we have Daniel Dennett. I do not have any memory whatsoever of reading this guy's work. He kind of looks like Santa in a way. We're just gonna put him in who. Next up, we have David Hume. I read his like dialogues thing for my God class. It was pretty interesting. I get it, I respect it. Next up, we have my guy, Richard Dawkins. I don't care what you have to say about Richard Dawkins or any of the other four horsemen of New Atheism. I think their stuff is fascinating. I think they made a lot of good points. I'm not an atheist, I'm an agnostic, but I always loved when we got to read like Dawkins's work. I thought it was so fascinating. All my professors hated him. They acted like he was a dumbass. I'm like, I think he's just as educated, if not more, than you guys are, but Richard Dawkins 100% deserves rights. So next we have Rene Descartes. Read this for my intro philosophy class. And like, I think the guy was like on drugs. Like, I don't even know what he was getting into with like his whole like, I think therefore I am nonsense, but I get it and I respect it. Next we have Pope Francis I, our current Pope. For his reading, we read a ton of his like encyclical. I read it in like so many different classes and I'm blanking on what it's called. But it's basically about how like we're killing the earth and we need to be better, and he deserves rights for that. Sigmund Freud up next. So I did also major in psychology. I am going to be going to get my master's to become a school counselor, so definitely I loved my psychology major. Freud, like, he was crazy. Not crazy, that's the wrong way to say it. Freud's ideas were out there. None of them really hold any weight today, but I think it's really important to still study him because he was one of the first people that started like talking about things like that have shaped the face of psychology in the modern world. So even though like his stuff isn't true and doesn't really hold up, I think it's really important and it deserves to be studied. So Freud deserves rights for sure. Next up we have, oh my God, my boy, Gilbert Mailander. So he's like, I've never even heard of this man before, but I have to say that his book that I read, Things That Count, I read an excerpt from it for my human person class, which was by far the worst class I ever took in college. And this man said that you can't be a good parent and love your children unless you birth them yourself. And naturally, I took a lot of offense to this statement. I wrote about it in my reading response. My professor did not agree with me. He was so evil. I hated him so much. Story for another time. And like, honestly, I wish I had like a level below doesn't deserve rights for Mailander, because like, he's just straight electric chair. Like, I hate him. I do not respect him. He sucks. Can't stand him. Terrible, don't read, do not recommend. Next, we have Christopher Hitchens. So along with Dawkins, he's considered one of the four horsemen of New Atheism. I thought his stuff was interesting. I don't remember specifically what we read, but I remember like I liked it and I did the reading, so he deserves rights too. Rest in peace, sir. Okay, next we have Thomas Hobbes. I think I've read Leviathan like in so many I couldn't even tell you how many classes I had to read Leviathan. I literally was reading in like 2 different classes at the same time one year, like intro philosophy and my society class. And you know, I get it and I respect it for sure. It's important, definitely. Okay, up next, I can't read who this is. Oh, John Rawls. Yeah, so he's another one that I read in a lot of classes, and like I know he like had something important to say, but I don't remember what it was, so we're just gonna put him in who. Next we have John Stuart Mill. Again, I read him a lot. Couldn't really tell you one way or the other. If you guys have strong opinions about any of these people, like leave them down below because I'd be very curious. So yeah, John Stuart Mill is also gonna go in who. Even though I feel like I read him in multiple classes too, but it didn't stick. Okay, John Locke. Not to be confused with my favorite character, like one of my favorite characters of all time, John Locke from Lost. And okay, so side note, when I was like making this list, I was thinking like, oh yeah, like John Locke is like also on Lost and like a few other philosophers. So I looked up a list and there are like so many more that I didn't even realize. Like one of the characters is named after C.S. Lewis. Did you realize that? Like obviously Rousseau and Locke, like I know what's going on there, but anyway, that show's great. Highly recommend it. The ending is not confusing. If you think it's confusing, you're just dumb. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so anyway, back to John Locke. John Locke, yeah, I think he has some interesting stuff to say. He just, do I get it or do I respect it or I get it, I respect it. All right, next we have John Paul II, saint now, I believe. I don't remember what we read from him specifically, but I feel like he wasn't the worst pope we've ever had. So we'll say I get it and I respect it for him too. Okay, next we have Immanuel Kant. Kant is another one. Definitely read him in multiple classes. They talked about him all the time in The Good Place, which is one of my favorite shows. But like, yeah. I think I didn't mind reading his work. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if I agreed, but I thought it was interesting. So I get it, I respect it. Next we have Leon Kass. I think this guy was like, he's more modern. I feel like, I want to say he like worked for one of the presidents, like he was like the like science medicine type person, but I feel like I didn't like what he had to say, so he's gonna be on thin ice. Next up we have Feuerbach. Feuerbach I read for my God class. I feel like there was a point where my professor talked about Kanye when we were reading Feuerbach, but I couldn't tell you why, so he's gonna go in who? Next up we have Karl Marx. Karl Marx, I get it, I respect it, yeah. Now we have Michel Foucault. I don't remember anything like about what he specifically said or what we've read for him. I just remember that he was inspired by Nietzsche and that he really triggered my evil professor. So for those reasons alone, he deserves rights. Next up we have, who is this? Oh my God. Oh yeah, Milton Friedman. Again, I think I read him a lot. Like I think him, Rawls, and like John Stuart Mill I read like in the same stretch of time for like multiple classes. I think he has stuff to say about like economics, which I just don't care about. So we'll put him in who with the other guys. My boy Machiavelli. Love Machiavelli. I'm a Slytherin. Obviously I love The Prince. That shit is so funny. It's so good. So obviously Machiavelli deserves rights. Like not a question. And then Nietzsche. Nietzsche's probably like my favorite philosopher that I read in college, like by a lot. I love his work. I think it's so interesting. I think he makes so many good points. He is not anti-Semitic, if you are under that impression. Like his sister, who was super anti-Semitic, edited all of his work after he had already died and like added in her own thoughts. So like those aren't his opinions. Like his opinions were really good and solid, and he 1000% deserves rights, like 1000%. Okay, next, Peter Singer. Peter Singer deserves rights. I will not be taking questions or comments on this. I respect this man. Next up we have, who is this? Oh, Joseph Pieper. Yeah, so I read his work for my Evil Human Person class, but he had some pretty interesting stuff to say. Like, he was saying that it's important to, like, know the difference between, like, learning for the sake of learning and just learning because you have to, and I thought that was really interesting. So I get it and I respect it. Plato, you know, like, I'm sure he probably had some bad opinions, but the Allegory of the Cave just slaps. Like, that shit slaps. So Plato, I'll have to say I get it, I respect it, because I feel like the Allegory of the Cave is the only thing that I actually have, like, some kind of, like, real connection to. So next up we have Pseudo-Dionysius. Like, what is that name? Why is your name Pseudo-Dionysius? Why can't you just be called, like, Dionysius II or something? I don't know. I don't remember shit about what this guy had to say, but I feel like I didn't like it, so he's on thin ice. Next up we have Edward Freeman. Okay, so I feel like I read, yes, it was like I had to read Friedman and Freeman for like the same week in like ethics, I think. I feel like he was another economics guy. Yeah, who? I don't know. Now we have JeanJacques Rousseau. One of the funniest Snapchats I've ever seen in my life was from a comment from my roommate Lisa, who inspired this video. I will insert it here for your pleasure. JeanJacques Rousseau, I get it, I respect it. Like, his work's pretty interesting. Now we have, oh my god, wait, this guy's name. Yeah, so Friedrich Schleiermacher. Yeah, Schleiermacher. So all I remember about this is we read like one of his things for my God class, and my professor like kept talking about orgasms, but like it was related to religion. I'm confused too. I think I like had skipped class that day, and I came in the next time and everybody was like, oh my god, what was she talking about? And they're right, like I don't know what she was talking about, so who? Next up we have Roger Scruton. I remember reading this in Human Person with my evil professor, but I don't remember anything else. So, who? Thomas Aquinas. I hate Thomas Aquinas. Like, I hate learning about him. Everybody at Villanova was like so up his ass. I don't get why. Again, he was like the OG guy trying to make Aristotle into a Catholic, which he was not. I don't get it. I don't respect it. He doesn't deserve rights. And why was he so ugly? Like, look at this picture of him. What is going on there? Like, why didn't the painter make him look better? He doesn't deserve rights. All right, this next guy, Steven Pinker. Again, read him in Human Person, evil professor, all that. Don't remember one way or the other. So, who? Now we have Thomas More. My boyfriend loves Thomas More. We read Utopia for my society class. So Thomas More, I get it, I respect it, and I'm sorry that you got beheaded. You didn't deserve that. Now I have Hans Urs von Balthasar. So I read his thing for my Dante and Theology class, and I don't remember anything else besides that. All right, so up next we have Wendell Berry. And I'm counting him as a philosopher because everything I've read of his is so preachy. So I read his novel, Hannah Coulter, for my Evil Human Person class. And I think I read like a few of his like articles, something else he wrote. But Wendell Berry's whole thing is that he thinks that we all should just be like living on farms. Cities are evil. Like, you need to be out in nature and slaving away on a farm to be living a meaningful life, which I simply cannot agree with. So Wendell Berry does not deserve rights. Just go stay on your farm and leave me alone. Thank you. And last but not least, we have the only woman philosopher that I ever read in 4 years of undergraduate studies, which is Mary Wollstonecraft. And the worst part is, I don't even remember what we really talked about with her, because it was such a tiny, small, like, afterthought in my education. But Mary Wollstonecraft was like a really dope person, so she deserves rights for sure. So there is my list. Yeah, all 42 of them. Who deserves rights, who doesn't? Out of 42 philosophers, we have 10 deserve rights, which was honestly more than I expected to have, and only 4 don't deserve rights, which feels like not enough, but like looking at the 4 that don't deserve rights, like those are the 4 that I definitely hated the most. Looking at this list, it is like so absurdly white. Like, this is just so ridiculous. Like, there is no reason why I should have only studied old white men in college and 1 white woman. Villanova, do better. Allegedly, Villanova knows they need to do better, but, you know, I'll believe when I see it. So these are my philosopher rankings. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to fight with you in the comments, as always. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Who was your favorite and least favorite philosopher you read in college? I would love to know. I would love to know if we have any similarities with our lists. And if you do fill out my list, please feel free to tag me at with Felicity on Instagram. I would like love to see it, or like, you know, you can like DM me a picture of it or something. I hope the rest of your day is filled with felicity, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.